Let's go.
Of the season 3 podcast season. I'm sure everyone is excited to hear from our guests today. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see who those guests are. They are two of our interventionists, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Mr. Matt Hoder, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Mrs. Amy Enright. Sorry.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We're going to start off, as we always do in our department spotlights, of just asking for you to give us a little background on how you got into education. You don't have to go back way back, but you can talk maybe about where you went to school and what degree you got in, and then where you have started and some of the jobs and roles that you've had up until now. So, Mrs. Enright, can you start?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I started at Illinois State University, going to school for a special education degree. I was able to land a state-sponsored teacher shortage scholarship, which helped. So anyone out there who wants to be a teacher, look into those, could pay for that. I first taught for a couple of years at a really small school not too far from here, but I've been at West since 1998, so just for a very short amount of time.
Right. You're not an original, but
not
you
quite
are
an original.
Close to the OG.
Close to an original, yeah. So I spent most of my time, about 20 of those years, in the special education department, and then made the move to the new role as an interventionist that I've been doing for the past, 6 or 7 years, I think.
So in one form or another, and they've called it a lot of different things along the way, you're now officially an interventionist. When did that start? That title?
That title was the one that started about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
So I left the special education or the learning resource department and made that switch.
So did they call you an interventionist immediately?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Prior to that, so my degree is as an LBS1, that's a learning and behavior specialist. That's what all special education teachers have. But it's still the same certification, just new title.
Got it. Mr. Hoder.
Yeah. Well, I was raised by teachers, so it's kind of like being raised by wolves in a way. So it was kind of in my blood. And I went to Illinois Wesleyan for my undergrad and started teaching right out of college at Pontiac High School. I taught there for 3 years, starting in 99. And then I came to West in the 01-02 school year, just because it was closer to home. I lived here in Bloomington Normal. And then got my administrative degree, my master's in administration from ISU, and have been teaching English at Normal West for 22 years. And this position opened up, and I thought I was ready for a bit of a change professionally. And so I applied for it, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about what we do, but it's just been a good change of pace for me, a good career transition. So.
You still coach golf,
and I still coach golf. Yes, I do.
So you didn't have to give up that position,
I did not, which was
sometimes
nice.
happens when you go into an administrative role and
Correct.
You're not allowed to coach anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's good. So I'm going to start with you because you. No offense, obviously, to
this
you.
This is
Mr.
my
Hoder,
first year in this role, so
right?
She's got a lot more experience about this.
So I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, what does that mean? What is an interventionist? And specifically, what does that mean at Normal West High School?
Okay. So we would be what we call the MTSS department, which stands for Multi-Tiered System of Supports.
Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that, right?
Because we don't have enough little monikers and acronyms.
Yeah, we don't have enough of those. Right. So when you think about tiers, you imagine our entire student population as a big triangle, and everyone at the bottom, 80% of our students are well served by what goes on in your classroom most of the time. But some students need more support. So as you layer on additional tiers of support, that's where we come in. So we do a lot of seeking out students who are struggling for one reason or another. Some students have a hard time with attendance. Some students maybe have social, emotional, or behavior struggles. And others are really just seeking the credits and keeping their grades up. So we actively seek out students who are having a hard time and just try to put in whatever supports we can to help them have a more successful school year.
And how is that done? Like, can you talk a little bit about your space and then kind of what the schedule is like for you guys as interventionists?
Sure. Our schedules are super flexible for the most part. I teach one study skills class, so that's one level of support services we have. So I actually teach an entire elective class that earns a credit just for study skills and executive function. We also, in our offices, we meet with students one-on-one through part of our Check and Connect program, which is where we review all of those things, all that data that I talked about with attendance and behavior and credits. We review that with students and we problem solve and set goals and try to figure out how to help them advocate for themselves with other teachers and set up whatever it is that individual needs. We also have what we call here's another acronym for you, the CLS room,
Yes.
Collaborative Learning Services. We're in room 105 right across from guidance, and students can come get help on homework. We have a couple of teaching assistants that work in this space, and then Mr. Hoder and myself and our math interventionist, Mrs. Winkle, all work in there a little bit just to help students with organization, with prioritizing, and then with any homework that they need.
So you talked about Mrs. Winkle. She is a newer teacher, and she was full-time math last year, I think, and now she does part math and then part interventionist work.
She still was really doing really full-time intervention work, right? With all of her focus. I mean, she doesn't teach any general ed math classes.
She teaches one section of pre-algebra,
okay.
but then the rest of her day is in specialized intervention math classes.
Got it.
Or in the CLS room to provide support that way.
And I teach two sections of a class called Choices, which is really kind of, if Amy's class is a study skills class, mine is a little bit more of a life skills class for kids who have been recommended to take that class because of maybe some of their behaviors in the past or some of the choices they made in the past. And it's a very small class setting. And
you've taught that class before.
I have not. No,
So
I have not taught that specific
year.
class, but I've taught a class kind of similar to that, which was part of the English department many years ago. So, so it's been a major adjustment for me. But like Enright said, the amount of flexibility we have during the day to meet with students and work with them in a more one-on-one situation is really just kind of it's strange for me because I've been such a teach 5 hours of English
to 25, 35
to
kids
30
or
kids or whatever it is, and to have that flexibility to meet with kids when they can for a variety of reasons. I'm learning a lot about just another facet of our student body in this new role, 1 month into this new role. So it's been a lot of fun, and Amy's great to work with, and I'm kind of taking over for Rexy Lanier, who was a big part of this program, the MTSS program, for years at both Normal West and at Normal Community. So I'm kind of filling in part of her role, and those are big shoes to fill because I know she and Amy worked very well together, but she's left me with a lot of assistance, and it's good to see her. She still pops in the building every once in a while. So yeah, it's been a fun change for me for sure.
Good. We'll get back to some more interventionist questions, but this we always like to kind of find out a little bit more about our staff members, really a little bit more on a personal level. What do you do outside of school?
I follow my 2 high school children around to all of their things.
And what are those things? What are some of those things?
Right? So we live out of town in the El Paso Gridley School District area. And so I have a freshman who is involved in color guard. And so I'm learning about all of the band and color guard things that I've not ever been part of before. And my other daughter is a junior in high school, and she has just joined her swim team, which in our situation is really a co-op that requires a lot of driving to other places. So yeah, we
love driving. It's so much
driving
fun.
All the places. So
yeah. Speaking of swimming, when I grew up, I was a multi-sport athlete, and I did golf and baseball and basketball. And I had always kind of hoped, my kids would play those sports. And my son, who is a sophomore here and is on the podcast, he's a swimmer. And so the first couple meets that I went to and watched, I'm just like, this feels a little strange. Like It's not the same. It's a lot different. But as I've gotten more and more into it, it's still also a lot of fun just watching your kid do whatever they're doing and whatever their passion is. So color guard, swimming, doesn't matter.
Yep.
It's still fun. And you put in the miles and the time and the effort, and that's just part of being a parent.
So yeah, it has been a lot of fun to watch them because I'm neither of those things. I've never been involved with band and color guard and never been involved in swimming either. So it's been a lot of fun learning all of that through them.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Hoder.
Yeah. Well, I have 3 children, but 2 of them are away at college. So it's very strange at the Hoder household having only 1 child still remaining. So it's given us a little bit more time, my wife and I, to kind of maybe do some of our own things. So I like to golf, I like to fish, but in years past, like we were always doing what Amy's been doing or what you've been doing is carting your kids to practice, going to Rantoul for a softball game or something like that. So
you mean you're not going to Rantoul just to have fun?
I am not going to Rantoul for fun, although it is just a lovely town. But no, it's weird having an A, much emptier house, and B, no real nighttime activities. My youngest daughter still does play. She's in junior high and she plays softball. So we did go to a few games this fall. But coaching golf in the fall is, as you're well aware, is very time consuming.
Yes.
It's fast and furious for 7 weeks of very busy. So, but it's a good busy because I enjoy being on the golf course, and on days like today when it's 84 and sunny, it's pretty nice being out there for your job.
Yes.
So,
get paid the big bucks to do that as well.
Big bucks. But other than that, I really like being outside, like doing things with friends and family, and up until just recently, very busy at home with children. But we've gotten rid of a couple. Kicked them out.
All right. So one of my favorite songs is "If I Weren't Doing This, I'd Be Doing This." If you weren't doing this, if you weren't in education, if you had it to do all over again and you had to choose something other than education, what would you choose? What would you be doing with your time? And you can't say, I would have won the lottery and I'd just be sitting on the beach somewhere.
Can't say that.
I have to say that's honestly really hard. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a teacher and do that. So yeah, I don't know what else I would do, to be honest. I love my job still, right? A lot of people talk about their big countdown to retirement, and I know I'm getting up there and close, but I'm not at all ready to leave West or to leave the profession. I really still enjoy coming here every single day and doing this. I don't know what I.
All right, I guess I'll accept that as an answer.
That's a pretty good answer.
Nothing.
That's a pretty good answer. I kind of thought I was going to do something in the medical field, not necessarily be a doctor, but perhaps physical therapy or occupational therapy, or I don't something maybe like in one of the ancillary kind of parts of being in medicine, and it just didn't really work out for whatever reason. It was not the path that was most natural for me, but I kind of wanted to do something in medicine, either be a doctor or do something in one of the kind of related medical fields, but it just didn't work out. So I think I could have, or I think I maybe, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be maybe doing that, but it's so hard to tell, when you've been doing the same thing for so long. It's like, you can't see your life in any other way other than working with kids at a school. Even though my job is different now, I'm still working with kids at a school. So
my answer would be pilot. I think was one of the other things I was thinking about going into, and joining the Air Force and going through
my
being
eyes
a
were
commercial
too bad.
pilot. Mine were good at the time. Now they've gotten worse as sometimes age warrants or makes happen. So we're going to go back to the interventionist job, and especially for you, this is new for you. What do you enjoy about doing this job rather than being the English teacher that you had been for a couple decades?
I think the most refreshing thing is working with kids one-on-one, because I'd been working with large groups of students for so long that, and yet you did work with kids one-on-one. You would conference with kids about their writing or something, but having the ability to, like, the majority of our focus during the day, I mean, the two classes I teach are very, very small. And then the majority of our focus is working with our caseload of students who we check in with, ideally on a weekly basis. And kids are just different in a one-on-one environment.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, even the some of the students who give you the most problems in a large group environment, in a class of 30, in English 2, aren't like that when you're working with them one-on-one. And so it's just kind of like a nice change for me to see a different side of education. I'm also really like the amount of people that work towards helping students who struggle. Like, we have a meeting every Thursday that takes about an hour, and there's 25 people in the meeting. Every administrator, every guidance counselor, our school social workers, our school counselors, our Project Oz people, and our interventionists, and they're all there for the same reason, is to help these, it might only be 10 or 12 kids that we're talking about that day, help them have success. And, I didn't even know that group existed. I didn't know that there was a weekly meeting of student support. The student support team is what it's called.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone. I think there's a lot of people that really, teachers, parents, even students, a lot of times don't know that they have services out there that they can use or utilize, and people like you that are that's your job to do that and to make a difference in those kids' lives.
And Dr. Cowdron is very passionate about this small portion of our school. She really supports the idea that we need to invest resources into the kids who struggle, because they've been marginalized for a long time, historically speaking.
Right.
Not necessarily at West, but, for 20 or 30 years ago, there wasn't interventionists. There wasn't multi-tiered, system of supports. So it's kind of a new kind of field in the world of education.
I like watching students learn to become more independent. So a lot of times, students, as we start working with them, rely on us for a lot of the guidance. And it takes a long time, because it's not a discrete skill where you don't know it one day and then you get a lesson about verb tense and
all of a sudden,
right?
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a long process, and learning those executive function skills takes a long time to be able to put them into action. And so I love seeing some students who maybe I worked with a lot as freshmen and sophomores become really independent and successful as juniors and seniors, and being able to put into action all of those skills and strategies that we talk about, being able to do that for themselves.
Right. Absolutely. Makes sense. So obviously, with any job, there are struggles, or not necessarily obstacles, but challenges along the way. What do you find most challenging about your job as an interventionist?
Getting it all done and fit in, because there's always, no matter how scheduled out our days are, right? You plan to see, students A, B, and C throughout the course of your week. Inevitably, a crisis comes up or something else that has to be dealt with, whether it is meetings or whether it is, a student who needs some serious time and attention right in that moment. And the next thing you know, your whole entire schedule goes out the window. And then by Thursday or Friday, you realize that you haven't had a chance to meet with some of the other students. So there's just not enough of us to go around. And so we were really happy when we got to add this additional position, because there was just one interventionist. So we always have had a math interventionist and one MTSS interventionist, plus the coordinator position, which Keith Rice has taken over to do.
Which was Rexy's position, which is who I was referencing earlier.
And so then by adding Hoder's position, we're able to serve more students. We're able to devote more time to the students who we were already working with. So that has been really helpful, because there's just not enough of us to go around to the students because the students that we work with, they really need a lot of adult care and attention.
And no day's really the same ever, which is also kind of going back to like, what do I like best about it?
Right.
Every day's a little bit different. And Wright was just saying today, like, well, I've started 3 things. I haven't finished any of them yet. I mean, because like something else came up or someone walked into our office or.
I sometimes feel that way as a teacher, by the way. Like I started my accounting lesson, but I didn't get anywhere near where
somehow,
I wanted to get done.
Yeah,
but
so that is certainly a challenge. For me, the challenge has just been trying to figure it all out, figure out all the pieces. Excuse me, the pieces that are involved in this position and in this department because I'm so new to it. And Amy's been very helpful, but it's still just a lot to take in. And the difficulty of coaching a sport in the same season that you're starting a new job, it's been kind of a challenge for me. But we're getting by. We're surviving.
Well, our school is lucky to have you two as interventionists and in the roles that you're in right now. They're important roles, and they're not necessarily unsung because the people in this building understand and appreciate, and the administration does as well. But I think it's been really good for me to hear, and then hopefully for our listeners to get to know not just you, but your job and your title and what it really means to our school and our students. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. This is cool. This is the first time we've been up here, so this is
it's a nice room. We're very fortunate.
You brought it a long way from where it stood.
Leftovers downstairs. They got all this nice new stuff.
Yeah, this is like really nice in here.
Chairs.
Jeez.
Well, I was talking
garbage picking from the 3rd floor. Yes. You should do a podcast from the 3rd floor sometime. That is an interesting spot.
Well, we are going to go remote on some podcast stuff. We just started talking about it today with our podcast group, and we're going to have a remote mixer and microphone, and we're going to go around and mostly talk to our students. Yeah. So I don't know if we'll do a full podcast up there on the 3rd floor, but we might say, hey, have you ever wondered what's on the 3rd floor? It's pretty exciting up there.
It is an interest. It is a little bit like going into Freddy Krueger's basement. Yes. Yeah, it's a little. The boiler room is a little scary.
A good analogy. I like it.
It's pretty scary up there.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us.